Nerd Nation. Welcome to our first episode of the Hot Nerd Network's Power Book 4 4th Season 2 recap. I'll be your host, Hot Nerd D, and today I'm joined by my amazing sister friend, Hot Nerd Jazz. So, everyone say hi, Jazz.
Um,
so, in case you missed the action or just need a quick refresher, you're definitely in the right place. But first, you know the drill. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But let's go ahead and get started, and we could go right into our episodes one quick recap. So, to kick things off, we now know that Diamond and Jenard do not no longer work together, which leads Jenard to create his own fraction called treason. So we can definitely get into that later. But Tommy and Diamond now had to make decisions like on their own, like making sure they secure their plug, taking out the competitions and or even enemies, just so that they could try to stay ahead of Jenard during this new kind of transition where he's in one fraction and they're kind of moving and doing their own thing on the other side. So definitely, Tommy's seeking revenge also on Liliana's death,
mhm.
and making his own moves on the Flynn family. So definitely excited to see how that turns out because, as you know from previous seasons and just watching Tommy, he's very hot-headed, and we'll get into that later. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. And then again, with so many, people competing for resources right now, like the Flynn's and Jenard, like
Mhm.
payments are coming up short. So that already led to some problems. Like we saw that Claudia had to shoot the chemist because certain secrets and things came out during this episode. Even Jenard's getting threatened now to recover some territory that was previously owned by someone else, but now his brother is taking over that. And so I'm sure as the season unfolds, we'll start to get into how all of what just happened in episode one kind of unfolds and see. So first, just wanted to start off with were your favorite like moments or what really caught your eye during this episode?
Ooh, I think it was so much. It was so good being back and seeing Tommy again. He's a favorite. And I don't know, he been should have had his own show. So I'm just so happy this is back. And but yeah, seeing Tommy, he's gonna be upset. He gotta do his revenge. So just for her death, Lunon's death. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. But he's on the rise. Okay, he about to use these other people. He's about to take over Chicago. So I'm excited about that. Jenard I thought was funny because how have the money and stuff. So, it was like you already started off wrong. I just come people don't have the money. It's like, what y'all doing? So thought that was a good way to get started. Just to let you know, okay, shit is not going well. Okay. Already we know the players. So
Yes, yes. I love that you already touched on Tommy's thirst for revenge because as you know, even from previous shows, Tommy is one to get get back at somebody for crossing him or doing something wrong to him, and he will make good on his promise, which was actually one of the quotes that he said during the first scene of the episode. And when he looked like directly in the camera, I felt like that was to the fans to know, like, yes, we know you are gonna do exactly what you said you're gonna do. So we just waiting to see how that whole plan of things unfolds. But what would you say, or what do you think about Tommy's thirst for revenge, or like, what is your take on revenge overall, too?
I think it's kind of like how like some pro athletes are like they gotta like create issues in order to be like pumped. Like so
Mhm.
I'm watching the show on Max about Magic and Larry Bird, and all the time they talk about how Larry Bird had to like create a friction. Michael Jordan said the same thing in order to get ready for a game, and I
Mhm.
feel like that's how revenge is a little bit with Tommy because it's a lot of it's always women dying and then that gets them. It's like, well, I gotta come back hard. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think in a way, of course, it's probably real feelings of like, oh, I'm sad and I'm mad, but also I feel like it's just a way of pushing him forward, like and get him ambitious.
Mhm. Gotcha. That definitely makes a lot of sense. And wow, I love that how you explained how it's like used as motivation or it could be used as a tool to kind of progress and move you forward. Like how
Mhm.
have you seen or what do you think about revenge even going in the opposite direction, like leading towards consequences that may not be as favorable?
I mean, I think that's the gamble. It's not revenge. It's gonna lead you one of two ways. It's
Yeah.
gonna be really good or really bad. So, but Tommy don't care. Like he really is at the point where it's like he all in, bro. So he gonna stand on whatever consequences. But he already kind of messing things up, like what he did with like for the chemist situation, like how he tried to ruin that for Claudia. Like he's already got his little things going. Like he got his strategy going. So I mean, I'm rooting on Tommy. Always gonna root for Tommy, but he's starting off strong, I say.
Gotcha. Yes. Definitely always gotta root for Tommy. That Tommy's definitely a favorite character, even from way back when this first started. So another big takeaway too that I saw throughout this episode was like familial rivalry. So,
Hmm.
whether that's between siblings, whether that's between
Lord.
parents and their children. So what did you take away from that?
Ooh, that that was a situation. I mean, I think Jenard should have went to school. Wasn't he supposed to go to Brown? He should have just went to
Oh, mhm.
university. Leave this
Yeah,
alone.
because I believe he was supposed to play sports, at that school, so, yep. Yep,
He
that
should.
was definitely his path.
I don't know. That should have been his shot.
Right.
'Cause I don't know if this is it. So you got that in, and then you got Vic. He's really hating his dad right now. Like, I don't know. Something about the family business is not looking great. But as far as Diamond and Tommy, it looks good. But all
Mhm.
this family stuff, I don't know about it.
Gotcha. And it, interestingly enough, like Tommy in one of the scenes, when he's looking at his family, so his brother, his nephew, and his mom, he's seeing how like nurturing she is to his nephew. He's seeing how loving he is. Like he even
Yeah.
offered to give her some drugs because that is
Yeah.
a common theme within their relationship. And she was like, no, I'm not trying to do that, or I don't want to do that right now. And he's like, wow, I wish you could have showed up, as that mom for me. Like, where were you like during all that time? So
Mhm.
definitely hinting at a lot of things gonna boiling over to the surface that we see like within family members. Also, in particular, to Diamond and Jenard, like what do you think is like wrong? Like, what do you think went wrong, like in their relationship, or like who do you think per se like overstepped?
I don't know. I think Jenard, I think he's the one. He just doesn't seem ready. Like I know he's very smart. He's supposed to be kind of book smart and be good with strategy, but I mean, he's already just started off not doing good. Like how you don't have the money for Miguel Garcia? You start out like I don't know, and I don't think it was really a good decision for them to split the territory because it's like now we both have less. Like I don't know. I feel like nobody's really winning with this feud. But I think both of their egos probably couldn't just be together. That's what I feel like. It was like they couldn't
Mhm.
coexist. But so I don't see anything good coming from it. But I also want to bring up that was a really good point about Tommy, how he might be feeling towards his mom. I definitely feel some resentment bubbling up as well. And I don't
Mhm.
know if it was kindness or pettiness that made him offer the drugs. Like you see her doing well, but it might be like, oh, I'm just trying to get close to you again. But also it's
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm trying to bring you backwards again. Like, cause you being all good, perfect mom to my brother. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, trying to present one way to someone else, but it's like
Mhm.
the other side, like when someone knows, or possibly in Tommy's case, like your true character or who you really are deep down.
Yeah.
So that also like begs the question, like can people change, and like what
Mhm.
is that motivating force that can cause that change? And so maybe it is seeing her nephew and seeing her other son and how they interact with one another could be that catalyst. So also it makes me think like what could that change be for Tommy, because it was interesting when he started flirting with his Connect sister later
Mhm.
on in the episode. Um, how like how she brought up, like, I don't want anything to do with my brother's business. If you have something to do with my brother's business, I don't want anything to do with you. Like I
Mhm.
want a more legitimate lifestyle, or I want something that's not, built on blood money. So it begs a question like, okay, if that could be the catalyst for his mom, seeing different family members in a different light, like, what would be that driving force for Tommy? Like, we have seen in the past, like, it was a female that can easily influence him to want to think in a different way. But also at the same time, it's like, I do think Tommy is a bit stuck in his ways and a bit
Yeah.
too too deep to where any sort of change really um,
Mhm.
doesn't resonate with him. So I
Mhm.
just wondered though, like as the season unfolds, like will there be a breaking point for Tommy to ever want to consider a different lifestyle? Or is he
Mhm.
gonna, be true to his craft and truly, ride or die, like ride it out until, he possibly can. So excited to see how, all of that kind of unravels and kind of plays out. So
Yeah.
transition, even into like the themes and like the symbolism, because I know that that is for sure huge within power. Some things that I noticed for sure were, again, the struggle for power, why we're
Mhm.
all here in the first place, the consequences of revenge. So, something that we just even touched on, and even the idea of like the generational divide and
Yeah.
how, the younger generation see, like we can all be looking at the same business or we can all be looking at the same idea, but just, based on our environment or how we grew up, like just in terms of like that generational divide, like
Mhm.
we're going to have like a different perspective on it, of course. So just kind of start off like, how do you interpret power in this episode, and then also vengeance from this episode? So how do you think those one tie hand in hand, or how do you think like the struggle for power kind of plays into
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like vengeance starts the struggle for power. Like, even
that?
like Claudia and Vic, like it's kind of like their mistreatment from their dad that's like creating this resentment, and they
Mhm.
kind of want a form of vengeance on him. So I think that, and that's creating this struggle for power. Or actually maybe maybe it's just like they go hand in hand, like you don't know which one comes first, because in a way, like Claudia wanted power, and that's kind of what started the resentment, and now that's starting this struggle again. So yeah, I don't know. That's hard to say what comes first. It's almost like when a tree falls in the forest, like
Yeah.
scenario. Like I don't know what comes first. Yeah.
Got it. Yes, I could definitely see that, how they like one can influence the other, or how they can possibly just coexist like all
Mhm.
together, like one in one hand. I definitely think, like you said, like Claudia's rise to power um could have first started more purely intentional, like, I am
Mhm.
doing this for the family, like, I do want to see the family's business expand, but I definitely think her father's, like, reaction to that, especially
Mhm.
not getting the same respect as her brother does,
Mhm.
not getting the same, access to responsibility as her brother does, just in a way. And a lot of times, like, how her father explained it even in the past season as like, stay in a woman's place, or
Yep.
stay, where you should be, like operate here because this is where you're best at. And it's like a lot of like the different things that are falling apart now, like how he's struggling for money to, pay back to Dublin, how like they had to potentially sell some assets later on,
Mhm.
like, and just overall his like cloudedness, and how he wanted the who the older brother was with, his girlfriend, to be eliminated. So it's like
Mhm.
all of these different things that could have been circumvented, and if responsibility was placed where it should be, or for who it's capable for, we could have seen a lot of those things not actually be an issue right now. But
Yep.
and so I definitely think that speaks to that generational divide and how the father is, used to operating in a more traditional sense where
Mhm.
men lead, men make the decisions, women play some sort of like submissive role or some role that doesn't require them to be in the front hand or being
Yep.
seen. And
Mm.
so I think Claudia in specifically like had to, overcome a lot of those barriers just to even get in the same like playing field as a brother, just to get in the same rooms, just to and even had to go like even a step further, creating a drug that was unlike any other like on the market, just so that she can make herself profitable, just so it can kind of add to um her credibility in a sense. So
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree.
uh,
Completely.
and then even like with the generational divide, like what I noticed, what was kind of cool was um Tommy's nephew, how he explained the app and how they used like different emojis and things to like communicate with each other, like where they're selling drugs, what corner it's on, and what the different aspects of those are. It definitely gave like reminiscent of like what's happening in
Yeah.
Power Book 2 with Tariq and
Mhm.
their show, because just seeing how social media is such a huge facet of our generation. But let's say like Tommy or even the Flint's father, like how
Oh,
that
yeah.
those different aspects just weren't introduced. Or just didn't exist possibly, like while they were operating, possibly in their prime. I know Tommy is still in his prime, but just seeing how different layers and things are being introduced just because like we're in a new day and age. And it was funny because exactly the nephew said like you're gonna, be leaving so many people behind if you don't start getting them on board with what's new. And so
Mm.
what do you think about the struggle to progress or adapt? And how did you see that in this episode?
Yeah, it's really like the people who are ready to adapt, that's gonna push them forward. Like Walter, to your point, his misogyny reeked. Like it was just Walter blew me from the beginning. Like he did not respect Claudia, and that created a lot of these issues. Vic, I mean, he was okay, but he was getting very mediocre, you know.
Mhm.
But in a way, I feel like this whole because of this intergenerational divide, that's kind of created even some of the rash actions that Claudia is taking now, like when she
Yep.
killed the chemist for Dahlia being leaked, like, and now that's when her and Vic's partnership is like, you
Mhm.
know, a lot of catalysts just keep going, you know. And I think it started off with intergenerational divide and her being feel like, oh, I gotta prove myself, and that's why she was so quick to like have to take that lady out because she was like, this is my reputation. Like it meant so much more. But I think it all stems from the intergenerational divide. And like to your point about Tommy, like the people who are going to listen to the younger people, like that's going to create, you know, the advantages you need to kind of stay like relevant in the game. So
Wow. Yes, I love that you touched on like relevancy and making sure that you're staying current, because like you said, like the people who are able to adapt are able to progress. Like they're able to move forward, they're able to kind of shift and make it more marketable or even like more profitable for them. But
mhm,
those who are kind of more stuck in their ways or can't see the opportunity or can't see the benefit of that progression or of those like new aspects being introduced, can just stay stale. And um then like like when money comes up, sure, like you can't make payments, it's like, well, what do we do? Well, we gave
yeah.
you strategy beforehand and you didn't listen. And so it's like you can't in a way, like you can't sometimes you can't adapt when it's too late. Like now you just have
Mhm.
to possibly just take the complete L, or possibly even like reinvent from the start. So I definitely think that that's a key point, that if you want to progress, you are going to have to adapt, and like you are going to have to start thinking way, thinking in different ways, because sometimes your old way may have worked up until now, and then now it's, now it's void, and so now we need to start doing thinking and doing different things differently. So what I did find interesting is that at first, Tommy was hesitant, to listen to the app idea because, in a way, I feel like his reaction at first was like, "This is child's play. Like, please, like,
Yeah.
leave, leave me to my grown man business while you play on games." So he's like, "No, you're not seeing it. Like, you're not really understanding what this little TikTok game or, like what their app specifically on the show was called, like what it's actually communicating." And so it also speaks to like you can learn from a younger generation, and they could be teaching you the very things that you'll need again to progress and to keep going. And so uh, but I liked how Tommy was at the end a bit more receptive to what he was saying,
Mhm.
because I think Tommy, for the most part, is always going to lead towards what could help this business. Like, how can
Yeah.
I expand? How can I grow? Versus the father's like, how can I maintain? Like, how do I keep the power? Like, how do I keep the structure the way that it is? And
Yeah.
thinking in those regards sometimes like won't lead you to positive results. So
Mhm.
definitely excited to see like how that aspect like with social media, or even at the app, or even if they even like use that moving forward, like how that's introduced, how that continues to progress, and like what like what cool strategies and things like could come from that. So I'm excited to see that. And yes, and then just to transition a little bit to the characters in particular, and
Mhm.
like what you think about their development. So, what we could start with Tommy, of course, on his own show. So, how do you perceive Tommy's temperament, and do you
Mhm.
think that kind of speaking to your point is a good motivational piece, or is that something that constantly like stands in his way, or both?
Mhm. I definitely say both. I feel like it's foreshadowing, like, okay, something might happen in the future, you know. I wish Tommy had some therapy, but I mean that doesn't really align with what he's doing, his career, everything that's happened because he have a lot to process, you know. And but right now I think it's helping him. Like right now, I think his temperament, he's quick. He's also to your point, open, like okay, this is gonna make us get further, I'll do it. I'll work with people like the fact he's working with Diamond if that's gonna help me get further. Like he's open. So right now, yes, things are going well, but got little things in the back burner that make you think like, okay, Tommy, like, is this gonna backfire on you at some point? So we'll see.
Do you think it ever, because I how I could see it too, from and particularly in this episode, is that Tommy does do very well with strategizing
Mhm.
and long term um thinking, but it's like the moment he gets angry, it just all
Yeah.
falls to the wayside. Like now it's immediate action. Now it's impulsive. Now
Mhm.
I got to do something. Like we saw it like even when someone who was previously like for them wanted to switch over to Jenard's treason fraction, how
Mhm.
he was like, I can't stand for that. And
Yep.
like Simon is trying to remind him, very reminiscent of Ghost in the original Power show, where there's just constant communication where between them, where it's like, please calm down in a sense, like,
Yep.
please,
That's important.
like, yes, please cool it. Like, we don't need the extra issue. We already have enough issues as it is. We don't need to create more. And
Yep.
like, Tommy sometimes just doesn't see it that way. He's just, so stuck on his loyalty that it's just principle at that point to him. Like it strategy goes away, and now I'm just focused on the principle. You cross
Yeah.
me, I have to do something about it. Like you
Mhm.
wrong me, I have to avenge this. Like there's like no in between per
Yep.
se for Tommy. And so I think it could definitely work in both ways for him. Like it motivates him to sometimes like have to think like when
Mhm.
he doesn't want to, or like have to do something, because now it's almost like his hands are tied, or like
Yep.
something forced his hand. But at the same time, it's like this is the very thing that's, causing a delay in your plan or causing a delay in like us progressing. And so
Mhm.
it's interesting. It's like he knows how to move himself forward, but he also knows how to move himself back. And
Yeah,
that's it. So
yeah, I completely agree. Mhm.
and then what do you think about Diamond and his temperament? And do you think that they are now like a good pair for one another? Or do you see some later friction that could kind of arise between them?
I think you brought up a really good point of going back to early Tommy and Ghost. I think that they were a good pairing because Tommy's like forceful or impulsive nature paired with Ghost's like pure strategy, kind of cold thinking. And
Mm,
I don't know about that for Diamond. So I don't know. Like the fact that they both are now like at war and declaring each other enemies is kind of like, ooh, I don't know. I
mm,
don't know. Diamond's not giving that same type of cold, level-headed thinking that Ghost was giving. And so I'm
mm.
not really sure how this is gonna go. But yeah, I don't really know.
I could see that. I could see that where like even his own anger for his brother can stand in his way and possibly cause like later issues along the line. Like Diamond does present himself to want to be led by strategy, want to be
Mhm.
led by business, and want to be led more so for peace and harmony. And anything that kind of gets in the way of that then becomes an issue, which, is the perfect characteristic of his brother right now. Like he
Yeah.
kind of represents all of those things to him. But I definitely think this could be a good pairing for Tommy just
Mhm.
because he is more level-headed. Like
Yeah.
he does get angry, but it's never to the extent of Tommy. And so it's like
Yeah. That's
someone
true.
has to like pull back at one point or even at the same time like what I noticed I think in this episode is that Diamond, well, he one has a lot more, I think, on his plate that he has
Mhm.
to kind of think about outside of what Tommy may have to think about. Like Tommy, the police are on it, but I mean, the police are always looking out for Tommy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not nothing
They
new.
do.
But for Diamond, since he is already like a convicted felon, he, you know, already was in prison. Like when he was meeting with his parole officer and
Yeah.
having to just go through all of like the extra stipulations like he has to deal with um now that he is out of prison and but still like within the same environment that got him there, so it's like he has to like be like more careful, he has
Yeah.
to be a little bit more sly, like he has to be a little bit more in the background. So I did like their dynamic in terms of like even like when they were meeting with the plug or even like when they were meeting like with the rest of the group, like
Mhm.
Tommy was able to kind of take charge and Tommy was able to kind of like navigate those conversations. So in a way it's like he's taking some of that off of Diamond's plate, which I
Yeah.
also think it could be a good pair for him as well. So like what Diamond can't do, like Tommy can, and like what Tommy can't
Yeah.
do, like Diamond can't. So
That's true.
and
Yeah.
I wonder like if they are like framing this to be the new Ghost and Tommy 2.0. And I'm excited to see like possibly like what characteristics or similarities we're gonna continue to see out of Diamond, or if it will be like a complete shock and like he turns out to do something that is just completely off script and we're just
Yeah.
like left speechless. So
That's
I'm
true.
excited, to kind of see that. Because what do you think will be like Jenard's like downfall, or do you think like he, has like the wits and the intelligence to kind of pull himself out of this hole that he kind of dug himself into.
I mean, that you said it right there. He dug himself into his own hole. I think for Jenard, I think it would be best for him to take his ego to the side and he needs to get back with Diamond because that's my only thing. Like, I agree that well, one, Tommy, yes, you're right about his temperament. He got caught a body in the beginning of the episode, like for no reason. So, I think
Yes, exactly, for
like
no reason.
he
It's
literally
also for
told
no
you.
reason.
No, no reason. Doing stuff like that. And Diamond is more level-headed. But I think for me, it's the fact that they're brothers that I'm like, okay, and the fact that Ghost and Tommy, they had so much history. They were like brothers. So that was another foundation.
Yeah,
Like Tommy still knew. So like if anything, if Diamond were to turn on him, I would be for his brother to me. Like,
right.
I think there's just so much unresolved stuff right there. And so, I mean, as far as Jenard himself, yeah, it's like it's not
Mm.
looking good for him. He really is getting the F fail out of everybody right now. It's between him and the Flynn's. I don't know who's taking a bigger L at the moment, but
Right.
not
They both are simultaneously taking the same big L together.
yes.
But that is such a good point that you bring up that Tommy is new. And
Mhm.
so he's coming into like an established kind of like culture or an established like way of being. And so he is causing a lot of like friction and like division. But at the same time, I know they could have been speaking in passion, like, no, if you see any of, somebody from the other side, like, and just completely eliminate them. They're done. We don't mess with them. Nothing. It's over. It's done. But, you know, if it ever came time to it, like, would he side again with his like, would they ever team
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
then go against Tommy? Because, like you said, like, he is an outsider, he is new, like, he doesn't have the same, like, level of intimacy that they have, being brothers. So
Yeah.
that will be really interesting. That will be a plot twist because, Tommy is always seen as just being on top and,
Yeah.
controlling everything. And that, of course, is his ultimate goal. Like,
Mhm.
why aren't we answering to sorry, like we need to go directly to the source. Like that is
Yeah.
his ultimate prize, like out of this. So, it's also it will be interesting to see, like, how far Tommy's willing to go, how many toes he's willing to step on to do that. And, if it's the wrong toe and Diamond's like, at this point, I can't do this with you anymore. Like, how that can all unfold. So,
Yeah.
yes, I am excited to see that. Do you have any other predictions or things that you would want to see out of the rest of the season?
Ooh, I'm
What do
thinking
you think
about
is
the
coming next episode?
yeah, next episode. I mean, I'm leaned in. I'm interested in my girl Claudia. I was always rooting for her. So I'm like, what's going to happen, girl? You done took out the chemist and your daddy don't got no money. Your brother not trying to work with you, not trying to work with your dad. Like, I don't know what's going on with there. And it's like, I, I just want to see how she's going to be able to turn this. So it will be so cool. I mean, Claudia clearly and Tommy won't work together because they got too much beef. But I wonder if Jenard and Claudia could have some sort of collaboration. Like, I don't know. Like, so we'll see.
He he did go to her in this episode to try to introduce an idea, and before information got leaked, she was a bit like,
Yep.
no,
No,
no
she
thank
shut
you.
him down.
Yeah, but now, like you said, like now that she's kind of in the trenches too, it's like maybe I might reconsider your offer. Like what? So that would be interesting. It's like, ugh, I do not want to see anybody right now team up with Jenard. Like he is just not a fan favorite, or he's not my favorite. But I do want to see like what his strategies too will be. Like if he could pull himself out of this, or like also too, like people do get creative when they're desperate.
That's
So
true.
like now that they're yeah, like you said, like Jenard and the Flints specifically, because Tommy and Diamond, like they're actually doing well. Like they are prepared. Like and that also is another kind of key difference between Diamond and Jenard
Yeah.
specifically is that Diamond will do things with preparedness, and Jenard is gonna lead more into impulsivity. So that's possibly even why, like, he had so much tension with Tommy coming in the first place. It's almost probably because he's looking at a mirror, like he's looking at himself, like
Yeah,
when he sees Tommy. So
that's true. Parent version, because Tommy been through this, so, like, it was just, like, the example of him trying to be like, "Oh, yeah, I don't got it this yet. Can I have extension?" And then, Diamond and Tommy come with a bag full of money, like, that was just a
yeah,
good example,
uh-huh.
like, I feel like Jenard is a younger Tommy, like, okay, this is early
Mhm.
Tommy, we in New York, but, like,
Yeah.
now, like, Diamond's in a better spot, like, Tommy's a good partner for him, to your
Yes.
point.
Yeah, and then I love that you bring that up too, because it's like we are seeing Tommy's growth right now. Like
Mhm.
we are seeing his leadership. We are seeing him, be forward thinking and not necessarily relying on his partner anymore, like the way that
Yes.
he relied on Ghost in the past. It's just woo, his anger will like get the best of him. And so like people know like if you push his buttons, like that is a way to like kind of get under him. And so, you know, want to see if he is able in some point, able to get his anger under control or if that will, continue to be his downfall and kind of lead him more into trouble or just things that could have just easily been avoided if you just took a deep deep breath in and out real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the death at the beginning of the episode, like Tommy. That's
That was truly principle. Like, I'm Tommy, I kill people who cross me, and you're one of them. Or it's like if even if you're an inconvenience now,
yep.
you're still a problem. Still got to take you out. So
Yeah. Well,
classic Tommy.
classic
Classic
Tommy. I got a question for you. What do you think about the
Tommy.
situation with Walter and paying back the people from Dublin? Like, they failed trying to take out Tommy last season. Like, what you think about that?
I think they're gonna come and collect. And so they're gonna get their money some way or another, and whether that's truly monetary or with lies. So I think Walter's playing it too casually for me. Like,
Mhm.
I really need you to take this seriously. Like, you are not, operating now under the guise of like that people are respecting tradition or, that people are
Yeah.
just respect your family name. Like,
Mhm.
it's not holding as much weight anymore. Like now you're seeing players come up like to your level or being able to now compete with you. And I just feel as though he's taking that way too casually. I feel they're gonna come and they're gonna collect and you know, might not miss. They may miss Tommy because Tommy's, too good, but I think that will still be catastrophic for however they do respond. Like it's not gonna go easy. And so
Yeah.
I definitely think they're gonna come prepared once again. Tommy is definitely like an equal opponent, but Walter, just because he's not thinking about this, bless you, or just because
Thank
he's not really, trying to put things in place as though this is a real threat. It's like,
Mhm.
uh, don't be caught off guard because you don't you think that things are one way when people are trying to tell you, oh, like even like his close like assistant, like the one who works closely with him, like he keeps trying to remind him, like hey, like we're
Mhm.
losing money here, or hey, we may need to shift this, or hey, like let's, downsize, let's sell some assets, and trying to be an advocate for, trying to keep things going. And like the more you don't listen, or like the more you can't adapt, the more you don't want to take in others' feedback, the more you're kind of just relying on old ways to try to
Yeah.
get you into the new. It's just gonna it's not gonna lead you down a pathway that is going to be beneficial or have longevity. Like
Mhm.
so. Yay. Thank you so much for joining today. This was so fun. I am excited to see how our predictions turned out, especially with that dynamic between Diamond and Jenard. I
I
know that
know.
will just continue to, unravel. So that is it for Hot Nerd Nation. That's a wrap on our recap today. So, again, thank you, Jazz, for coming and dissecting, the twisted turns of the first opening premiere episode of Power Book 4, Season 2, Episode 1. So, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and come back next week for the next recap.